Welcome to the Real Estate Entrepreneurs Podcast. Today I have a great pleasure to bring you one of my great friends, Mr. David Olds out of Chattanooga, Tennessee. How you doing, David?
Good, man. Good. Happy to be back on. This is what, third or fourth time?
This is the third one, man, and I love talking to you, David. Number one, because of your experience. You have plenty of experience when it comes to real estate in general, right? You've been a landlord, fix and flipper, wholesaler, and now you are working on bigger things. Is what the way I see it. Okay, and I'm actually following a very similar path to yours. You just got a head start on me when it came to that new path that you took on board, and I remember when you learn about this business, like you probably knew about it, but you didn't see it that way until that one day we were at a mastermind together
in Cancun, Cozumel. We were down
in San Antonio. We were at the Hustlers Mastermind with Michael and Charles.
That's actually that was there was a with.
I think that's when you had the aha moment. It's like, wait a minute, you can make this a business. When Donovan Ruffin was presenting.
I've told you that story. Right?
And you told me that because I was sitting right next to you, and I was like, I told you, I said, David, I don't even know if you want to deal with those headaches.
That's what everybody said, right? This is the dumbest thing ever to do.
Why would you know what? That's what we get paid for as entrepreneurs, is about to solve problems, right? So I want to ask you a question, right? And guys, if you guys don't know David, you guys need to go back on either these videos or the uploads on the podcast and watch the two previous interviews, because that's where David talks a lot about rentals and flips and wholesale deals and how he scaled multiple wholesale companies to multiple six figures. I remember one of them was like from 0 to 250,000 in 60 days or something like that, and right. And I got to see it. I got to witness it, shit.
In the office. Yeah.
Right. I was in the office. So, and by the way, David is also one of my mentors when it comes to the dispositions. We've learned a ton from David on how to do dispositions, how to sell deals quicker, and the reason I mention all of these things, guys, is so you guys pay attention. Okay. You guys need to pay attention when David speaks, because he's got vast experience. And it's not something he just read on YouTube and came out and now he's telling you all about it. No, this is things that he has lived for, built. He's had ups and downs like we all do. Nobody gets away from that. But the one question I want to ask is, how do you decide to go from a full-time wholesaler, and I wouldn't say wholesaler because you weren't wholesaling on your own, from a full-time wholesaling operation to a full-time transactional coordinating company?
Yeah, it was very hard. I'm going to tell you, it took me months and months and months to come to that decision, because I joke about it all the time. I identify as a wholesaler, right? Like, I have been an investor. My wife and I bought our first property back in 2002. We moved to Chattanooga in 2009. And from June of 2009, really until earlier this year, we ran, varying degrees, sizes, but wholesaling, that was what we did. We started out local, broke like everybody else, driving for dollars, yellow letters, bandit signs, and built some really big companies and rental portfolios and did all of that stuff. So how do you decide? I'll tell you. So here's where we were. Try to tell this in the best, most linear way possible. I can tell you when I first started out and my brother was still working with my company, like, I was anti outsourcing, anti VAs, anti all of that stuff, right? Because I was the idiot that's like, I am a hustler. I can do it better than anybody else. Nobody can do it as good as me. I have to do everything, right? And that's just really dumb for any of you who are doing that, or you think that's the way to scale, and you think that Elon Musk is down there putting light bulbs in his cars. You're crazy, right? To scale your business, you're going to have to bring in some other people. So eventually we did start to do that. And one of the first things that I outsourced was my property management, right? We had almost 100 properties. And yeah, I had some girls here in the office who were taking rents and doing some things, but ultimately I was self-managing. And again, I thought I could do it better than the property management company. And I don't know if you've read this book, Dan Martell, Buy Back Your Time. Have you read that yet? You got it right there. Dude,
There it is.
get the audiobook, right? So the audiobook at the end of each chapter, he does this like, hey, here are some clients I've had, and here are some additional stories. So really good. So and what Dan says in that book is you're right. Nobody's ever going to be as good as you or care as much as you because you're the owner of the company, right? That's cool. But they are going to do 80%, maybe 85. And 80% is 100% awesome, right? Because it's not you. So now what happens is I outsource my property management. Are they perfect? No. Are they a little more expensive? Yes. But now all that time that I was devoting to that, now I could put into my wholesale company. And at the time I had another partner, my other friend that you remember, and I was able to, when we parted ways with him, I was able to really focus on my wholesale business, which was great because now I could take that just off my plate and let the property manager deal with it. So we grew our wholesale business, and back when COVID hit, what kind of the idea, the impetus for Easy REI closing, it came from a bunch of different places. One was that event we were at where Donovan was talking about charging a transactions fee.
Which, by the way, I had already been doing because I learned that. Yeah,
Good.
I learned that from a guy locally here in Houston, long time ago, and it was just, but we called it like paper, like admin fee or something like
Yeah,
that. We didn't call it transactional coordinating fee,
yeah. Yeah. Well, so we were at that great mastermind. It was during COVID, one of the best masterminds I've ever been to because it was very small, a true mastermind. Everybody really like presented what was going on in their business. But anyways, Donnie stood up and said he had added this 295 fee to his contract. And I've told him this, that it would, it was a big moment for me. And I remember getting on the plane and I'm like, well, man, if he can charge 295, I can charge 595. And we came back and we started using that to fund our internal TCs, which was cool. So it was offsetting some of our expenses. So then COVID hits, right? And then a lot of our friends who were running big nationwide title companies started laying some people off. But lo and behold, like the rubber band snapped back and we all got really busy. So I had some people come and say, hey, can you help? Can you help with, transactions? Because the thing that I was good at and was coaching a lot of was dispositions and transactions, kind of that second half of the business. So in doing that, I realized that there was just a gap in the marketplace. Nobody taught transactions, and it's very difficult to teach, right? Transactions is more than just doing it effectively. It's more than just a piece of paper where you're writing some things down, right? You have to understand the title process and how to really solve problems at a deeper level. Death, divorce, taxes, back taxes, probate, bankruptcy, all of those types of things. So we started helping some people out, and I realized, wow, well, this is something that could be a great business. And this is about the time when we were down in Mexico with Investor Lift. And I remember telling you and Corey and Nick, and I remember Corey saying, that's the dumbest fucking business I've ever heard. Why would you want to do that? It's a shit business. I'm like, you know what, man? I think we can do it. I think it's going to work. And so we actually launched it at your Miami mastermind. That was when we came out and talked about it for the first time publicly. And it's really grown. We 4x the business last year, which is good. Having some really great months, but it's because Heather and I built just a really amazing team of guys and gals that really care about our clients. But to answer your question, all of that to answer the question of how did I make the transition from wholesaling, into this, I was doing both at the same time, which is actually very difficult. You would think they kind of go together, but they don't. One's a very much a customer service and paperwork sort of business, and the wholesaling business is what it is, right? It's very hustler kind of focused, right? You're always out grinding. So what happened was in 2021, 2022, we realized that we wanted Easy to be our focus, for last year, 2023. So I tried hiring a couple of sales managers in that I could really just take the wholesale business like I did the property management, put it aside and put somebody in charge of it. And I hired two people. They were both a disaster and sort of ran the business into the ground a little bit. you know. Um, and ultimately, I realized I was at a point where I either needed to focus on one thing or the other, right? So that's ultimately what kind of drove that decision. And as much as it seriously pained me to give up wholesaling, I knew that we could make the biggest impact with people running the transaction company and helping investors and wholesalers across the country really scale up. So we decided to turn the wholesaling off, and in my heart, I know that we can turn it back on anytime, right? Wholesaling is wholesaling. There's some your method of marketing might change just a little bit, but the idea of it is essentially the same. So we shut that off, I think, in June of last year, and really spent the last 6 months, focusing on easy and focusing on our clients and making sure that we were giving them the best experience possible. And the company's just growing like crazy right now.
Wow. Well, congratulations, number one.
Long answer for that short question.
No, no, but that's great because that gives us the nuts and bolts on your decision making process, right? Which is I was in the same crossroads.
Yeah.
Like I had a wholesaling operation,
Mhm.
very successful. We were closing deals every month. Some
Yeah.
months were better than others, but
Sure.
we were getting there. And was I crushing my goals with wholesaling? Probably not because of multiple market changes and things that happened that were not in my control or our control as a team. But at the same time, we started servicing other real estate investors with our VAs, and
Yeah.
you were one of them when we
You're
first
right.
started.
Yeah.
Um, and before I knew it, I was like, wait a minute, there's another business model here that I
Yeah.
didn't think I have. It's very profitable
Mhm.
and it's more predictable.
Right. Right.
And yours is very similar because even though you are handling transactions, um, which is a lot of paperwork and all of that, ours is handling tasks for other clients,
Sure.
whichever they are, and and long story short, even though your business and my VA company are completely different animals, they're very similar in a way, which is very predictable on what's going to happen the next month and the month after.
Mhm. Mhm.
Especially after you have a good customer relationships manager that's
Yeah.
making sure you're keeping clients in
Yeah.
and that everybody's happy. You're being proactive about it, right? Which is something we do as well.
Yeah.
And when I saw that, I said, okay, yeah, wholesaling is great. I can have a $500,000 month if all the chips fall into place,
Sure.
and everything is perfect. But over here, I can create something that I know will be there next month.
Yeah, I mean, it's a different type of business. I don't think there's zero chance that, well, first off, zero chance I ever even thought I would end up here. I'm sure when you started wholesaling after you got, out of the Navy
Dude, I
off
didn't
oil
even
rig.
like wholesalers.
Yeah,
You know what I'm saying?
I
I
love
didn't.
wholesalers, but yeah.
I
Um,
didn't. I'm like, you know what? You're a wholesaler. I will do this. Get away from me. Like you don't know your numbers, and.
yeah. No, I know that's true. But yeah, 4 years ago, I had no idea that I would run the biggest transactions company in the country. I mean, I didn't even dream of it. And in fact, when I came up with the idea, I didn't even know anybody else did it at any type of, well, I mean, nobody does it the scale that we do, but there are some smaller regional people, right? We know of a couple, that do it on a kind of a small boutique level. But yeah, we were different because, I came from being an investor for 20 years and a full-time wholesaler for what, 12 or 13 years at the time. Like I understood what the problems were that a wholesaler has. I think you might be old enough to remember the Hair Club for Men commercial, right? Not only am I the owner, but I'm also a client. So like you guys were our first clients, like my friends who ran real wholesaling businesses. So we knew how we had to build the company, right? We knew that it was going to be designed for wholesalers and investors. We knew we had to be able to operate in all 50 states. We knew we had to be able to do all transaction types. And I knew the things that drove investors fucking crazy, right? Which was title companies not giving a shit, nobody trying to, figure out a way to get your deals closed. So all of those things, when we were developing the company when I was doing it with Heather, we certainly wanted to factor all those things in to make sure that we were giving our clients just the best experience we could.
Good. So let's say I am a wholesaler and I want to delegate the transactional coordinating service, which is something that I highly suggest if you guys are watching this, or even not a wholesaler, but just a regular real estate investor that's buying properties,
Yeah.
right? Because this is, you don't have to cater only to wholesalers; you can cater to anybody that's doing transactions.
Yeah, we have quite a few just wholesalers, like guys who just buy and sell at very high volume properties. We've got guys who buy a lot of their landlords and they just buy and hold. And again, they just don't want to be the paperwork people, right? I mean, think about who is a wholesaler, right? Who's that stereotypical archetype of a wholesaler, right? Again, very hustler minded. They're jump out of the plane, build the parachute on the way down, right? Zero fear. They enter into things and don't always understand, all the ins and outs of what they're going to do. And that's amazing, right? That's the thing that makes us good as entrepreneurs, right? Because our brains are a little bit broken, right? That's not normal. Right. It's not normal that you would, run your finances down to $2. So literally you're eating ramen noodles so you can pay for your marketing, right? But that's who we are. Well, that's great. But that person
Yeah,
that
I don't know how many times I've been in that
oh,
situation.
dude, I've skimmed across the bottom so many times that, even in the last year, right, where I want to put everything into growing the business. But
You know what? I'm glad you're saying that, David, because, and let's touch up on that
sure,
subject for a minute, right? Sometimes people see you and other people that are in our circle,
yeah,
Corey, Nick, Charles, Donnie, all these guys that are doing amazing things in our space, right? And they just think we have $1 million on the side
just sitting there in our
sitting
pocket.
there just to do stuff, to throw an event or to run marketing or to
Yeah,
hire people. And the reality is, I don't know how many people I've hired when I have my bank account in zero.
sure. Yeah, and so when we talk about like that broken, your brain is broken. Like who will take those risks? Most people wouldn't. I've had I've had people come into my office and aspiring investors, and they're like, "I want to be just like you," and I'm like, "Oh no, you don't."
No, you don't.
This is a mess. Like you don't want to be up here. Like this is a rat's nest of problems. Yeah, no, like we are continuously willing to push the envelope and take crazy risks, which when you're a husband and a parent, like those are even more dangerous, right? Because you got to think about putting shoes on your kids. But you're willing to just bet on you, right? You're willing to bet on you and the idea that you have and the thing that you believe in when everybody else says you're crazy.
And sometimes you're betting on people you don't even know.
Yeah,
Actually, most of the time when you're hiring new people,
yeah,
they go through your hiring process, right? And you make a good job at filtering what's not good out. But
yeah,
sometimes even the bad apples make it in,
yeah.
and because you're like, you see something in them that you're like, you know what, I'm gonna bet on this person. I'm
Yeah.
gonna give them a chance to come and be my marketing manager or my success, whatever.
Yeah.
And they
You know
don't
what
work
you know what I
out.
think it is I think, us visionaries in, you know, in this in what we do is I think we're just incredible optimists, right? We just have to always see the potential. So, we see potential in everybody. We see the best of what everybody can do. And sometimes they let us down. And that's where the, hire slow, fire fast comes from. When you realize it's not the right person, you gotta bring another one in because you can't afford to waste 6 months with the wrong person.
I think to add on top of that, we are very resourceful. So
Oh yeah.
the minute something is not working out for some reason, whether it's money wise,
Mhm.
or you go get a credit card, or you go get a loan or a line of credit, or maybe raise some money from a private investor,
Yeah.
something, you're gonna go figure out how to keep the doors open,
There's
and
always a way. There's
there's
always a way.
always a way,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Especially to stay operational,
Yeah.
right? As a wholesaler, that's the one thing you have to master when you're starting out.
Yeah.
You gotta master being resourceful, because you will run out of money, you will run out of cash, you will have people leaving you for multiple reasons.
Yeah. The
They
deals
just
that just die. That you thought you were gonna make 70 grand and it just dies. And now you gotta figure something out.
the deal falls apart,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Or you know whatever. So, and I wanted to stop here to send that message to the audience that
Yeah.
it doesn't matter if it's real estate or if it is marketing or if it is maybe you're a doctor and you want to open up your own clinic. Being an entrepreneur, man, it's all right here up in the head,
Yeah.
and you got to be an outside the box thinker.
Yeah.
um Nothing is perfect. You will lose money and opportunities.
Yeah. The one thing I always say, usually people ask this at the end of a podcast is, what's your recommendation for people? And it's exactly this. And this is why I say you've got to find that tribe, right? You've got to find those friends, that group of people that you can confide in, right? Like you and I both all been through crazy business stuff, and we can call each other and go like, man, so I'm thinking about blowing out my partner. How
Yeah.
do you think this should go? What advice do you have? Because sometimes when you're in the middle of that, tornado, it's very hard to think straight, right? So it's good to have people that you can trust and people that are in the business and that have been through it before, and can kind of give you a little bit of guidance every so often.
And that's who you guys can become to any investor out there that's doing transactions,
Yeah. Yep.
right? So if I'm a guy that's doing fix and flips or wholesaling, and I just want to delegate the
Yeah.
transactional coordinating company.
Yeah.
All I do is I have to open up a contract,
Mhm.
have a written agreement, reach out to Easy REI Closings,
Yeah.
and you guys will explain the different programs and ways that we can work together.
Yeah.
But now I have someone I can rely on or lean on
Yeah.
for making sure that transaction goes smooth.
Yeah, the one thing that a lot of us, we all read Rich Dad Poor Dad or some book similar, or went to Grant Cardone or whatever it is, right? We whatever it is that got us into real estate investing, it was never to figure out monument of title or where to do with what to do with a when you've got a file with a lost death certificate or a trust document that's missing, right? Like nobody got into real estate to figure that kind of stuff out. We got into real estate to help sellers, right? And then to sell our deals and make a lot of money. So, I say all that like that the average person doesn't know a lot about transactions is like normal. It's really like a foreign language. And you can muddle through it, right? Like I could squeeze underneath my Jeep and go change my oil. I'm not going to enjoy it. And I may fuck up my $100,000 car, but
Right.
but I can do it, right? So I'm not saying you can't do it. But what's that costing you, right? The ability, you could mess up your deal and you could lose it because you don't understand how to solve the title issue or how to navigate through that kind of, whitewater rapids of issues. Or you're going to spend a lot of time on it, maybe miss another lead that came in that could be your $100,000 deal. So yeah, I mean, I always tell people, outsourcing to somebody like us who, just thousands and thousands of files of experience. There's nothing that you're going to bring us that we haven't seen before. It's just, I mean, we'd be very excited. Like it would be something new and everybody would talk about it. Like, oh my God, this new thing happened. But, we did 2,500 files last year for investors, over $100 million worth of closings. So, it's where we like what is it? Allstate. We've seen a thing or two, or State Farm, or whatever it is.
So 2,500 transactions. How much money? I mean, how much money in volume does that equate to? You told me the number, and it was an astronomical
Yeah,
number.
we've done well. 2,500 files, I think, is over the last two and a half years since we started. But I know it's over $165 million in closings. It was 100 million just last year. That goes to show just how much we grew. $28 million in assignment fees for our clients.
Wow.
$28 million. It's cool. One great thing about our company, because we service so many clients all over the country, like the data that we have is really amazing. And Heather does a great job pulling all of that. But I was looking at some stats the other day. We've got a handful of clients, 4, maybe 5, where their average assignment fee is over 70,000. Crazy. Like that was their average in 2023. So we can see, what the average transaction fee is by state, by transaction type. So we can really kind of get in there and narrow down and see, like, hey, if you're a wholesaler and you're our client, like, and you say, hey, I want to go to West Virginia, I'd be like, I don't know about West Virginia, but I might go to Virginia.
No, I would never go to West. Dude, I went to West Virginia once. I opened up a contract. This is like 2019.
Yeah.
It was like being dead in the middle of the Arctic desert. And I
Yeah.
was like, and the attorneys didn't understand what we were doing. The sellers didn't understand what we were doing. and we couldn't find any buyers.
Yeah.
And there were, and it was a deal, like if
Yeah.
you ran the numbers, and it was a deal all over. And then we ran into a couple of more deals like that, and I said, you know what, put a big X on West Virginia. We'll never touch that place ever again.
Yeah.
And that was the last time I ever heard that name. But you're right, Virginia is a whole different animal.
Sure. Oh, I've done some of my biggest deals in Virginia, New Jersey, weird places that you wouldn't think are good deals or good markets. But yeah, so it's been a fun ride. It's been good. The success of our company, really, it's not about me. I'm just the pretty face that gets on video. It's that we just have a great team and we hire the right people, right? So in the same way that wholesalers are very entrepreneurial minded, we hire the opposite. The people that we hire love spreadsheets and they love problem solving and they love to be on the phone, sorting out bankruptcy issues or foreclosure issues or that kind of thing, right? So we make sure that we hire people that really complement your business.
Now, let's talk about what are the basics of a transactional
Sure.
coordinating job? Like, if you can sum it down in just a few
Yeah.
steps.
So, I mean, at the very beginning, right? Well, let me tell you how a transaction works for us. So, you're a client of ours. You send over a contract. Immediately, one of our coordinators is going to jump on the phone with Mrs. Smith. Hey, Mrs. Smith, this is Claudia. I'm working with Ricardo on your deal over here at 123 Main Street. So, first thing is we're gonna reach out to them and introduce us, and we're gonna bridge the gap between you and us, right? So, Mrs. Smith, I'm going to be your point of contact from here all the way till closing. So I want you out, right? Go back and get your next deal. I don't want this to be the thing that you're spending your time on, right? Because transactions are not a revenue generating activity. Is it important? 100%, but it's not the thing that is getting contracts in your door, right? Go talk to your sellers, go talk to your buyers.
Build a pipeline.
Build that pipeline, right? Because the worst thing you can do, and this is what causes that kind of cycle of death, right? Is, it's just you. And this was me in the beginning, right? I was the guy. I'm going to do the marketing and then I'm going to do the acquisitions. And then I'm going to, do the dispositions on the couple contracts. And then I got to get them closed. And then I get to the end and it's been 3 months and I made, $40,000. I'm like, oh shit, I got to start my marketing all over again because I stopped marketing. All right. So keep the wheel of your business spinning. Let us handle this. So, Mrs. Smith, I'm going to be your point of contact from here all the way to closing. I need to start to collect some information from the title company so I can get you paid just as quick as possible. Right now, after 2,500 files, Ricardo, like we understand what the title company is going to want based on the, whatever is going on with that transaction, right? Subject to foreclosure, bankruptcy, whatever, bad tenant. So, we've got different checklists and SOPs for that. So okay, great, Mrs. Smith. I understand Mr. Smith passed away. Great. We know what it is that we're going to need to collect. We're going to need death certificates, obituaries. We're going to need to know who all of the heirs are. Like, Mrs. Smith, literally, can you draw me a family tree and send me a picture of it, right? So that we know who it is that we're going to have to talk to. Because here's the thing. Here's how we get paid as wholesalers, right? Or investors is we go out, we want to help people who have problems. The more problems that we can stack up, right, the lower we can get that price. Awesome. Well, what do we also say out of the other side of our mouth? Hey, Mr. Buyer, Mr. Cash Buyer, I'm going to give you this great deal at a discount with clear title and prorated taxes. All right. So somehow we have to go from all the problems, which is this ball of spaghetti, to clear title, right? So who fixes that? Well, that's what we do. We unwind all of that spaghetti and solve all of those problems for you. So great, Mrs. Smith, we're going to get you paid just as quick as possible here. Let's go through and see what all of those issues are. And our team is very experienced in, knowing, okay, great, there's 14 heirs. Great. We're going to need contact information for all of them because we're going to have to get them to sign. And, whatever that is, we're going to work through that process. And the reason we jump on that so quickly, the day you send us the contract or even the next day, is because I have to assume that you're going to dispo this the next day. Right. So the minute you dispo, I'm going to do the same process. Hey, Bob the builder, working with this deal with Ricardo over at 123 Main Street. Hey, looks like you're sent in your EMD. You're going to close this in your LLC. Awesome. I need your corporate docs and using RCN Capital, Tim Herridge, our friend, to fund your deal. Great. I need all of his information because we need to take all of that information from the seller and from the buyer, put it together in a nice, neat package, and get that over to the title company so I can get this closed just as quick as possible.
Are there deals that just won't ever close because they're so tangled up into some sort of situation that
Yeah.
it's It's like a
Yeah.
mystery that cannot be solved. You know, like
Well, the mystery can always be solved. There's always a way to solve it. Here's what I tell people: of all the deals that you're going to lose this year because of bad title work, I can probably fix 50% of those, right? Just because we have a lot of experience and we work with, very investor friendly title companies. In fact, we're going to announce something really cool at your event here in another week or so, talking about title companies. But there is probably half of those that are just a rat's nest, right? They can't be fixed normally, right? Like there's no way around, without going to court or, something like that. So in those types of deals, we're never going to leave you hanging, right? I'm going to say, hey, Ricardo, all right, this deal's, they legit are going to have to do a suit for quiet title, right? It's just a mess. Or, hey, you are going to actually have to go finish the bankruptcy on this. Let's do this, right? It's probably going to take 6 months. We are happy to jump on the phone with your seller and explain it. We'll even connect your seller with the right attorney, right? Because I can't do it for them because I don't have standing to start bankruptcy for them, right? Or whatever the action is, the legal action. But I would say, Ricardo, I think this is a deal. Looks like you're going to make 40 grand on this. So why don't you do this? Get with your seller. We'll work with her, but put her on a 6-month extension, right? Let's get with your buyer because this is a deal for him. Let's put him on a 6-month extension and let us work it over these next 6 months and see if we can bring this thing to close, right? We don't want you to lose it. Can we close it in 2 weeks? No, but there is generally some solution if everybody wants to be on board and partake.
yeah, we had a property in San Antonio that I believe I put under contract in 2018.
Yeah,
It ended up closing in 2020.
yeah,
No, 21. I'm sorry.
really. We've had a bunch of deals go over a year, a bunch. Yeah.
This one was my longest one, and the worst part about it is it was from a friend of mine. So
Oh, really?
it was a friend of mine that was involved in inheriting a property
Mm-hmm.
that had 24 heirs, and out of those 24 heirs, two of the wives were not on board on selling the property,
Oh, no.
and for some reason they had to sign off on the deed as well,
Yeah.
because I guess they were married or something when they inherited the property, and
Yeah.
I had to become a master negotiator in between all of them. It was, I had to give some money outside of, like I had to do all kinds of things
Yeah. Yeah.
to make it happen, and finally after 3 years it closed, and the guys told me, actually, they're like, dude, I don't think we would have ever closed on this property if it wasn't for you.
Yeah.
Because I went above and beyond on
Right.
how to make it work, and I tell people, don't give up on deals like that. Just buy more time. You can always buy more
Yeah.
time.
Yeah. You want to buy more time, put some people on some extensions. Don't let it be the thing you're focused on, though, right? Like that deal, you're not going to make any money for 3 years if that's the only deal you focus on, right? So that's where outsourcing to people like us, like you have a big team, right? But if you're a solo operator, like you probably have to cut that loose to keep the new deals coming through. But if you have a TC either in-house or somebody
But
like
even today, if I was going to start a wholesaling operation,
yeah.
I would just rather outsource the TC work to you, because you know what you're doing. I would literally have to train somebody
Mhm.
completely,
Yeah.
and I don't know half of the stuff you guys know. So I know stuff, but I don't know it all, and
Yeah. Dude,
that's
I used
not
to
what.
think I know stuff, and I feel like I'm pretty good. Like in the big scheme of things, I'm pretty good, and my team surpasses me. Like I walk by through the office, and like I think I've got all the answers, and I hear them talking about something. I'm like, oh, well, that's a pretty good idea. I don't know that I would have thought of that. Yeah, that's funny. We do a lot of sales calls, and I take some from time to time. People are like, well, I just want to hire in house. I'm like, okay, it'll cost you more, and who's going to train them? Well, I'll train them. Well, what do you know about transactions? Well, nothing. Like, well, then,
So
like,
you're
how?
just hiring a secretary, pretty much.
Yeah, like, how is that a good solution? Because you're going to put your trust in somebody who really may not understand it. And even if you hire maybe some ex-realtor, right? Like their world is not our world. They're not going to understand novations or sub two or wholesale deals or anything of that. So how long is it going to take you to teach them to come up to speed? Even if they're sharp, a great problem solver, like what's that? Is it 6 months? Is it going to take 6 months to get that person up to speed?
Not only that, David, I mean, how many deals can they see
Mhm.
that they really truly have to do something to get the title
Sure.
and the deed fixed and everything in line? It might be even a year or 2 years before they see something crazy.
Yeah.
And when they see that, then the deals falls apart because they didn't know what they were doing.
Yeah, or some attorney, like, the guy that we called Dr. No when I first started. Oh, you just can't close that. And they come back to you and they go, oh, Ricardo, this one can't be closed. And you think they're your expert. So you're like, oh, okay, I guess we'll just throw this one away. And that 20, 30, $40,000 deal, which that one deal, half of that deal would have paid for us for a year,
Right.
So,
Yeah, I tell people, it's like, look, delegate 100% if you can
yeah,
to people that know what they're doing.
sure.
Right. I know about, I can read title commitments. I can understand them. I've been a real estate investor since 2008.
Yeah.
Do I want to focus my energy in that? Not in a million years.
Dude, I own the company and I wouldn't want to do it full time.
Exactly. Exactly. So I don't see why people say, oh, I'm going to hire the TC in-house and I'm going to train them and I'll get them up to speed.
Yeah,
I was like, you know what, man? Now that there are services like yours,
sure.
give them away. Now, if you're only doing one deal a month, I get it.
Sure.
You probably don't need a company like yours.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right.
My rule for outsourcing, and this applies to your business as well, is two things, right? I've talked about this a lot of times. Is one, can they do it better than me? Right? Can they cold call better than me? Can they do the spreadsheet better than me? Can they do the transaction better than me? Can they do it better than me? And honestly, most of the time, the answer is yes, right? Like there's a little bit of narcissism and hubris with all investors. We think we're the greatest at everything, and we're great at something. We're just not great at everything, right? So can they do it better than me? And the second question is, can they do it cheaper than either me, what my value is, or what I can hire somebody else in to do? Right. So your VAs are certainly cheaper than I could hire anybody to come work in my office. Right?
100%.
And they're going to do a far better job because they're trained and, all of that stuff. So can they do it cheaper? Can they do it better? If you answer yes to both of those, you need to figure out a way to do it. Right. Again, Dan Martell, right? Buy back my time. If you're $100,000 an hour or $100,000 a year person, if I can pay somebody 25 grand to do this job and take it off my plate, I should 100% hire that person, right? If you want to scale. If you don't, that's cool. If this is a hobby, that's great. Keep doing it. Enjoy it. Not everybody wants to scale. Not everybody.
No, I got a great friend, man, that all he wants to do is ride a motorcycle around the country, and he just wants to do a couple of deals a month. That's it.
Cool.
Nothing else.
Yeah. Like we're not built for everybody, right? We're built for people who want to scale, and that's what we really specialize in.
And if he does his 2 deals the first 2 days of the month, guess what he's doing the rest of the month?
Nothing. Riding that bike.
Riding the bike.
Yeah. Dude, there's nothing wrong with that. It's funny when, and this is kind of anti everything that would say sign up with us, but I don't know if you remember Kenny Rushing. He was a big investor or guru, kind of like an original guy out of Tampa back in the late 2000s. And I went to his office for a week-long mastermind. Excuse me. Oh, shit, maybe 8 years ago. And I had that conversation with him. I'm like, Kenny, like, should I scale? He's like, well, man, maybe not. The thing is, when you scale is now you have an office and you have people that depend on you, and you have to make sure the business keeps running. Where if you're just a solo person, turn it on, turn it off, do whatever you want to do.
Go to the beach.
Yeah.
On vacations, and when you run out of money, come back and continue to work and add deals with the pipeline, right? So I fix and flip for a very long time on my own, and of course, I wasn't doing the remodels, but I was hiring other people to do that.
Yeah,
but I didn't have somebody to rely on and say go get these materials or go do the walk around on the property, or I did it all myself, and when I made money, it was all for me.
It's true.
Yeah. Right. But when I scaled my flipping business and I made money, guess what? Now 80% of that money was going to that payroll.
Yeah. Yeah.
So people thought, oh, Ricardo is making a killing. He's getting rich.
Yeah.
It's like, well, I might have built a multi-million-dollar business.
Yeah.
But in reality, I probably don't make more money than you do, with your regular job,
Yeah. Scaling is an interesting thing, right? Like you're gonna make a bunch of money kind of, when you're starting out. Like for me, I was doing, 2 or 3 deals a month. But when you scale, you're probably gonna make less money for that first year, right? Until you figure it out. Because now you're going to have an office, and you got to have computers, and you got to have people and payroll, whether they're W-2 or 1099. Now you got to buy more software. Like, there's cost for bringing those people in, and you have to figure it out, right? Like, we don't know. Like, we don't know all the problems that we're going to have.
Let's pause there for a second, because this is going to be a good subject for those that want to scale a wholesaling business.
Yeah.
And wholesalers are probably 95% of your clients, and they're 95% of my clients as well. Sure. And don't get me wrong, I will wholesale again sometime this year. I don't know when, but I will.
I drive by houses and I'm like, oh, that'd be a good house.
Yeah. And not only that, what you can do when you wholesale. So the influx of that cash coming in because you closed on 4, 5, 6 deals on a shot is like, man, it feels good. Yeah. Right? But let's think about this. Hypothetically, you and I go build a wholesaling operation, and we're business partners. Okay? And I've seen this a lot. A lot of business partners a lot of people are joining forces.
Yeah.
Of course, to share their resources, right?
Yeah.
I don't agree with it in many ways. They don't belong. They should not ever be a business partner. Yeah. They should be JVing only, but not really commingling the relationship as a partnership. But anyhow, you and I known each other for a while now, and we decided that, you know what, it is a good idea to build a wholesaling operation. And I said, all right, David, we're going to do this completely virtual, meaning we're not going to have people in the office.
Yeah.
We're going to go overseas, and we're going to hire cold callers, acquisitions, and dispositions. And keep aside the transactional coordinating portion, because easy REI closings is going to do that for us. Sure. How many people do we need to have, just at the top of your head, to run an operation that produces 20 to 30 contracts?
20 to 30. Cold calling?
And texting, yeah, in between, because texting is still alive, so it hasn't died yet.
30. You're going to need 900 leads. I mean, 900 leads to get to 30 contracts, probably, right? That's about, if you cold call, 30, about 30 to 1. I mean, you're going to need, what, 10, 15 cold callers?
That's it. You're going to need 10 to 15, not cold callers, but you're going to need probably 10 to 15 people in general, right? Because now you got to lock up these deals.
Right.
And 2, 3 good acquisitions reps will do that.
Yeah.
So let's pretend you have 4 cold callers.
Yeah.
Hand dialing 200 numbers a day. Okay. Right. So 400 times 4 times 200. So they're making 800 calls a day times 22 days. That's 17,600 dials a month.
Yeah.
Okay. And 17,600 dials a month is going to produce those 900 leads that we're looking for. And those 900 leads that we're looking for are going to produce 30 contracts. Right. All right. Let's say 20 contracts, not to get our heads too far away from the deal. Okay, so we need 4 cold callers. We're going to need 3 acquisitions guys. And now we're going to need 3 dispo guys, because one dispo guy will choke at 7. So we're going to divide these 20 to 30 deals in between 3 dispos. So we have a team of 10 plus one team that's called Easy REI, okay? Now, let's pretend I'm going to hire the transactional coordinating in-house, okay? I'm one of those guys that I'm like, I can fucking do it better than you can, David. So
take a shot. Yeah.
All right. How many people do I need to hire now from my end to replace Easy REI?
You'll need 2 to 3 people.
3 people, no less than that.
Yeah. Now, for us, we have our coordinators. I was just looking at it today with Heather. We were doing a Zoom. My lowest coordinator has 44 files right now on her plate. My highest, my best people have anywhere from 65 to like 72. Because that's all they do, and they've been trained for forever, and they're certified, and they're in an office with people that this is all that's going on all day long.
Now, needless to say, those 30 contracts are not all going to close.
No.
For multiple reasons.
Yeah. At best, 18 to 20 are going to close. At best.
You got shitty deals in the pipeline. You lock up some of them too high. Some of them got title issues that are going to take time to fix.
Yeah.
But now we're talking about we need 13 people in the operation to
Yeah.
produce that kind of numbers. So let's start with the cold callers. A cold caller full time right now is $1,250 a month. We need 4 of those. That's $5,000 just on cold callers. The acquisitions are $1,500 a month each,
45.
and the dispos as well. So now we need 6 of those
So
times 6.
14 grand.
So that's $9,000. We're right at $14,000 already, and we need the 3 transactional coordinating company coordinators. Let's say it's another average of $1,250. So $1,250 times 3. So I need to put $3,750 more just for the 3 transactional coordinators.
Yeah.
Plus, so $17,750.
Before you first buy your data, any software.
Okay, now we need dialers, we need texting platforms, and we need a CRM.
Yeah.
We need to buy the skip tracing. So now and what about hub staff and things like that?
That's
so
fine.
you're at $20,000 a month on fixed overhead before you even produce a deal.
And let's say 15 of them close. Let's go 50%, and we'll use the average of 18,000. You know, I mean, you're going to make 250 to 270 if you run a good operation. Yeah.
And you're going to operate now at 10% of. Now, of course, out of those 200 and some thousand bucks, you still got to pay bonuses. You still got to, because you got to keep people incentivized, you know, and you're going to have other costs involved, you know, like.
Yeah, because I ran that operation. It's 50 to 60.
Me too. That's why it's so easy for both of us to run these numbers.
Yeah.
And oh, hold on a second. The list didn't fucking work. We got to pull a list somewhere else because this list is not responding right now. Yeah. So we got to feed another.
And all of this is cheaper than PPC too. You know?
Well, for PPC, you still need the same people.
Yeah, yeah.
It doesn't change. For PPC,
PPC is more expensive than the data, you know?
And yeah, because PPC goes away.
Yeah.
PPC, you run PPC. And don't get me wrong, I'm not against PPC. I mean, we have a friend, Nick Perry. He's the best in business when it comes to PPC. You know, my hat off to him. I'm on his group, and I consider him my mentor when it comes to all of that stuff.
Yeah.
But this is just on the cold calling and the texting side. Mm-hmm. Once you turn PPC on, you add another $10,000 at least.
Oh shit, dude! Easy.
At least
we were at $25,000 a month when we were running it.
So you were at 25,000. Yeah. Nick and Corey, they love to keep it like that's just what they told me a year or 2 ago. I don't know what Nick is spending today, but or investing, because it's really an investment for marketing. But they were somewhere in between 10 and 30,000. You know, like it will fluctuate.
For like $80,000 a month, which is great. But boy, you have a couple months where the market shifts.
Well, that happened to me with mailers.
Yeah.
So I did that with mailers, and I was sending 80,000 mailers a month, and I was the owner of the mailing company.
Yeah.
So I got a break on the cost. Like I was operating at cost. And oh boy, when I had 3 bad months,
yeah,
I was very worried, because I'm like, how am I going to continue to stay in business when I don't have the influx of deals coming through that I should have come through, right? And I remember the day I discovered skip tracing and texting and calling, I was like, wow, what was I doing? Why was I sending all these letters? Right? Now, don't get me wrong, I'm not against letters. Letters are good. They
some great results with letters.
And you need to go find a company like, REI, print mail, and get with those guys. That way those guys can take you through the path of how to do marketing properly with letters. But let's go back to the transactional coordinator portion of it. So we got 3 transactional coordinators in this operation that's cranking out 20 to 30 deals a month, and it's costing me or us, so 1,250 times 3, $3,750 a month.
Yeah.
Right? Now, I don't know if I'm training these guys right.
And, and let me say this. I love VAs, right? I've used your VAs. I've got my own VAs. We love them for marketing, for spreadsheets, but a VA, unless you've got somebody with perfect English, you're going to struggle using them for a TC.
Yes.
Because again, imagine old Mrs. Smith in West Virginia. Somebody calls her up with an accent, right, and not perfect English, and hey, Mrs. Smith, I need your I need your social security number and your wiring instructions. You're done. Now it will work in like Texas, right? Like Texas, Southern California, Florida. Like the accent won't be such a big deal, but in some states, the kind of white bread states, right? Like people are white like me, like you're gonna have a problem. It's just not going to go over as quite as well. So that now you're looking at you have potentially lost deals because it came across very scammy. Not that it is, but that's just how people are.
So let's say I say, you know what, David? I don't think it's a good idea that we run 3 TCs in our operation.
Yeah.
Why don't we hire easy REI closings to do our transactions?
Yeah.
How much money can I save a year by just making that switch? Roughly, ballpark. I'm not talking about
15 to 20,000. Plus, I think more of your deals will close. So not only will you save money, I think you will increase your revenue. We like to say that we'll help you find 30% of your business, through more deals being closed. Your attention now could be spent on, on acquisitions and dispositions and training your team. And then we're going to save those deals that have, not everyone, but we're going to save a lot of those deals that have, just severe title issues.
Yeah, I'm on board, right, with the focus on when it comes to running a real estate operation. I want to focus on two only: acquisitions and dispositions. I don't want to get caught up in the middle, which is where you are with ECREI closings, because, like you said, that's important, and it's probably one of the most important pieces of the puzzle.
That's where you get paid.
Is where you get paid, but it's non-revenue generating activity for me as a CEO.
Yeah.
Okay. Now for you it is, because of course that's your service, but me as a wholesaler, I will be like, no, man, let David do this. I'm gonna go ahead and concentrate on finding deals and disposing the deals, because like you said before, the solopreneurs are the ones that get caught up on one of the 3 aspects.
Yeah.
Once they get the contract and they got that piece of contract on their hands, they turn around and open title.
Yeah.
And then title company calls them up and said, hey, David, this file you just opened, and this guy is new, by the way, this file you just opened, on Schedule B, we got all these line items that are showing up, right? And all these errors that are showing up. And by the way, there are some judgments and liens here that you have to take a look at. Now this wholesaler is like, what are you talking about? What do I do?
I have those emails where they just cut and paste whatever an abstractor sent over, and it looks like Latin. And I'm like literally Googling every third word to try to figure out what it means. Yeah, like what do you do? So now you're not dealing with your leads. You're not following your team. You're not looking at your KPIs. You're not doing your dispo. You're trapped in quicksand, trying to sort out a problem that you're not through any fault of your own, but you're just not equipped to deal with it, right? Because you have no background in it.
Yeah, no experience.
Oh.
And then you're not selling the deal. And by the way, that deal is not going to close because it's not clean.
Right. And a lot of us are just going to look at that and go, oh, fuck. Okay, I guess this one won't close.
Throw it on the trash, right? So now you can say, all right, Mr. Title Company or Mrs. Title Company, this is great, but I hire easy REI closings. Can you talk to them so they can help me sort this thing out?
Yeah.
Now wholesaler can go back to acquisitions, get more contracts or dispositions.
Yeah.
And now if you were to start as a wholesaler again, let's say you're starting as a solopreneur, okay? Then go back to your old days when you were juggling all these different tennis balls in your hands.
Yeah.
Which one is the first position you fire yourself from?
The last time around, the first thing I did was fired myself from dispo and then transactions. 100%. Those were the two. So what I did is I handled all the marketing and then just kind of ran that team. But I put one of those girls in charge of transactions very quickly. She wasn't great, but then we ended up hiring in Heather, who
was amazing.
Fucking amazing. Yeah, dude. And in fact, the podcast room where I'm sitting was her office originally. And I would come in here and I'm like, Hey, what was this wire for $28,000 that we just got? She's like, well, dummy, that was that deal you sold 3 weeks ago. And like I completely would forget because I didn't have to be so, in tune with the dispo side and the transaction side. Like I literally just handed it off and I knew I could trust her to just get these deals closed. And literally, like, it sounds crazy, but like, deposits were coming into my account every week and I had no idea. Like I'd have to go, oh, that, yeah, that's that other deal, you know. And my business really blew up because I was able to focus on training my team and selling more deals.
Amazing, man, how things happen when you delegate
Yeah.
and you decide to trust other people that are actually probably a lot smarter than we are, you know.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I mean, that what I was reading this book or article or something the other day, and it's like, when you hire people, you don't hire people to tell them what to do. You hire people for them to tell you what to do, right? Like hire smarter people. And even back when I ran retail stores and other lifetimes, the people that I hired, I tried to surround myself with just people who, one, were smarter than me, better organized, that did everything better than me because like I know what I'm good at, but I also know what I suck at, right? Like there are things that I'm definitely not good at. And I wanted to put them in charge, and their job was to protect me and kind of keep me out of trouble.
Will you do, David, a free consultation with an aspiring wholesaler that is looking to scale? Let's say I'm a wholesaler. Maybe I have a couple of VAs working with me.
Mhm.
They're lead generating for me, but I'm still closing the deals. I'm still, doing the dispos and all that. And I'm watching this video and I said, maybe I want to try easy REI closings,
Yeah.
to see how they can help me scale because you scaled multiple times and not once and over again. And it was like turning up, flipping a switch. All right, I'm gonna scale in the next 4 months. Here's
Yeah.
what's gonna happen. Bam, you flip the switch, and boom, 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 things started falling into place. And next thing you know, you're producing 10 contracts. I remember one time you and I were driving on a truck from San Antonio to Houston, and
Yeah.
you were describing your business to you. And I told you, and I was like, dude, we have these are twins. Like, because my
Yeah.
company's
I remember that.
so
Yeah.
similar to
Definitely my
yours.
first guy, Bucky's.
That's right. We were at Bucky's, and I was blown away. I was like, dude, you got the same problems I have. Like, oh my God, what this is crazy. Like we're suffering, through the same illness. But anyhow,
Yeah,
for
here's what I'll do, man. And I know you've got a link that's just for you. If you post that underneath this and people use that link,
we
yeah,
will.
or we'll jump on a call with you, either me or Craig, who's my head sales guy, and yeah, let's talk about your business and what you did in 2023, what your goals are for 2024, and like how we can help you. And if we're not the right answer, that's cool. We'll tell you that, but we can also maybe point you in the right direction because one thing you and I know is just about everybody in the industry. So if there's something that I'm not great at, I can definitely get you to the right person.
And that's what it's all about being able to help each other out, right? So many times, I said, you know what, this is not for me, but it's for someone else. And hey, use Ricardo or David or whoever that we think can do a better job or a good job at fulfilling that need.
Right.
But if you are an aspiring wholesaler and you want to scale from one to two or three deals that you're probably currently doing and you really want to go to the next level and do 10, 15, 20 contracts, you have a man here that has the experience, has the track record. He's one of the original cartel members
Yeah.
in Investor Lift and has scaled operations to multiple, contracts per month. Like when I say multiple, 30, 40 and up. Give him a call. You said, hey man, I saw this video.
Yeah.
I wanted to see how, this is your chance to pick David's brain. Okay. I'm giving you that. I didn't ask David for permission. But just send them a message, okay, and go through the proper channels, sign up under the link, and or if you even find them on directly on Easy REI Closing, you said, hey, I saw you on Ricardo's podcast,
Yeah.
and they'll know what to do.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. That it's amazing. Once you get to a certain level of, I don't know if success is the right word, you definitely have the ability to give back to people, and I do, I enjoy doing that. I did a call yesterday with a friend of mine's grandson, and he just wanted to get started in real estate, and he came with like 40 questions. So his name was Dylan, and we sat through and went through a bunch of those questions, and finally I'm like, okay, you stop with the Dave Ramsey stuff and go get Rich Dad Poor Dad, and let me at least point you in the right direction here. And so yeah, so it's always enjoyable to help people grow their business, because people like you and me, we remember what it was like. Like, we remember when we were first starting, and and the one thing, like, we're now those old guys in the rocking chair on the porch, right? Where, like, I can tell you very clearly the things that fucked me up and kept me from scaling my business. Like, if I'd have had somebody to tell me in 2009, hey, dummy, quit doing this, get yourself some VAs and, start to outsource some of this stuff, my business would have been 5 times as big.
I'm the same way, man. I was hard headed. I didn't believe in education. I thought I could figure everything out on my own
So,
by research or whatever. And I was afraid of sharing with people what I knew. Also, if I had some sort of, I had so many limiting beliefs, I would be much further ahead today than I am if it wasn't for my own self, which
oh,
is, you
yeah,
know,
we're our own worst enemies, and entrepreneurs, that's a thing, right? That's a problem, and that's one of the things I'll be talking about at at your event in 2 weeks. Is we'll definitely talk about easy, but we're going to talk about outsourcing, and some of the some of the struggles that I had, and things that kept me from growing my business. And usually it was right between here. It was my own perceptions, and I thought I had to be the guy who did everything, and if I didn't, I wasn't a real investor or some crazy shit like that. But yeah, it's gonna be a new talk that I've never done anyplace else, so I'm excited to do it.
I'm looking forward to it, man. January 26th, 27th, 2024. Attend Growth. Grab your tickets. We're almost sold out on the VIPs.
Yeah,
You definitely don't want to meet this business event. It's 2 days. David is going to be there to share his knowledge, his wisdom. He's going to shake your hand. You
yeah.
need to come in and see him.
Take some pictures,
Um,
do all the things.
and have fun. Like, we're gonna have a lot of fun. As usual, we'll go to dinner and then we'll go to all these other extracurricular activities that we tend to do during our event.
Yeah,
Is
always a
is
good time.
also
Always a good time. Every time you put on a great event, and the thing, events are events. Events are great, but it's so much of the networking and the people that you meet and relationships that you form. As much out in the hallway in between speakers that really can impact your business. And what I had a mentor of mine teach me very early on is, when you go to events like this, go there and be very clear. Okay, here are 3 things I need to learn. I need to learn these 3 things. If I can figure out these 3 problems, I can come back and change my business. Right. So
well,
somebody in that room can answer your question. I guarantee it.
and you heard it from the man. So make sure you're there that weekend. If you guys are watching this now, please leave on the comments where you're watching from. I've seen a lot of people popped in and out. So at least we can say hi and give you a shout out or whatnot.
Oh, is this
But
live? I thought we were just recording this.
oh, we're live, brother. Like,
Live,
this
live
thing
without a net. All
this
right.
thing was streaming everywhere, man, even on LinkedIn. So the only thing I didn't put was Instagram, because I haven't figured out how to connect Restream to Instagram
Restream will
yet.
do it. Supposedly they've just come out with a way to do it.
They
So,
just did it, but I didn't have time today, and
yeah.
and I said, yeah, I'll do it later. I'll figure that out later. But anyhow, guys, don't forget to hit share, like, and subscribe. Go to our YouTube channel, hit the subscribe button. I am committed to give you, just like David, a bunch of great rock stars in our space that know what they're doing, that are legitimate, and that are actually doing real estate or are servicing the real estate arena, which is something that most of us need. And my commitment is to give you the best that I can get my hands on. So, David, thank you so much for being here today, brother, as such a short notice. But this was long overdue, again, because we hadn't seen each other in a while, and I always consider you a great friend, and you're on top of my list every single time, man. So I thank you for that, and I'm looking forward to see you in the next 2 weeks. With
Yeah.
that being said, you'll have a great one, guys. Bye bye.